Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. My name's Chad, and this is First Impact. This is a place where I react to things for the first time. That's the whole idea behind it. It's something new. Whether it's watching a video, it's mostly what it's going to be, let's be honest. It can be watching videos, watching music videos, or maybe I'll try something new, like a new food or something like that. I'm open to suggestions on what you'd like to see me react to. But the idea is the First Impact reaction for me. It is my first time experiencing something and just seeing what I think about it, seeing what you guys like. And I'm excited to be on this journey. And I'm looking forward to some suggestions. So drop them in the comments down below. I guess it is standard, I must say. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notifications button, and we'll let you know what's going on. The video I'm going to react to today is the top 10 80s events the world watched together. This will be interesting. I'm not super old, but I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so I'm wondering how many of these events I'm actually going to remember and what was going on. I can think of a couple. I'm certain that something like the Challenger disaster is going to be in there. And I remember that very well. I remember watching that in school, actually. Other than that, I don't know. What happened in the 80s? Let's find out. I was going to say the fall of the Berlin Wall. That might have been 89, I think. So that's probably in there too. I think that's when that was. Outside of those things, not sure what we're going to see. But let's get into it. Let's check it out. And let me know your thoughts. Thanks.
We made a grievous error.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 80s events the world watched together.
With determination, a look at his face, we're waiting for the opening bell.
For this list, we're looking at historic events that occurred in the 1980s that garnered an enormous amount of media attention. Did you watch any of these live? If not, which one sounds the most interesting? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10, the fall of the Berlin Wall.
The Berlin Wall.
Of course, if you were alive at this time, you're going to remember this. This was a huge moment in the world, and I don't see how anybody could have witnessed it or watched it and not have that stuck in their memory. Such a big deal for the end of the Cold War.
Once it divided East from West, now on its way to becoming an artifact of history.
Known within the German Democratic Republic as the anti-fascist protection rampart, the Berlin Wall stood between 1961 and 1989 and physically separated West and East Germany. The concrete wall famously represented the ideologically fractured Berlin, with the East serving as the communist sector of the city.
The sophisticated containment system in Berlin is far more than a wall.
And I went to Berlin on business several years ago, not that many years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, and 6 or 7 years ago, I guess. And they still had pieces of the wall for sale in like souvenir shops. It's crazy. I imagine so many people have pieces of it, but it was such a huge thing that there's still some of it around to, if somebody wants to take it home with them. I don't know, just something that popped into my mind. Obviously, aside from that, no signs of the wall when I was there, but it was a fun city to visit, and I'm glad that wall's down.
With the fall of the Iron Curtain also came the end of the Berlin Wall. At 10:45 p.m. on the night of November 9th, 1989, the checkpoints were finally opened, and the citizens of West and East Berlin were reunited.
What's it feel like to be standing on top of the wall?
It's incredible for me. It's I can't describe really my feelings. It's something unreal for me.
This is known as the night the wall came down, and it was front-page news around the world. It was not only a symbol of Germany's reunification, but also the end of the Cold War itself.
From the moment the first wave of East Germans crossed into Berlin in the early hours of this morning, showered with champagne and cheered by a crowd of thousands, it was clear this would be one of Berlin's most dramatic days.
Number 9, the Challenger launch.
Usually the night before, I had the same nightmare that what I saw today, and I thought it was a dream.
Most 80s children remember the morning of January 28, 1986. To inspire an interest in space, the Teacher in Space project aimed to carry various teachers from around the United States into the dark expanse. The first teacher picked was Krista McAuliffe of New Hampshire's Concord High School. Because McAuliffe was set to be the first teacher in space, the Challenger launch became a national phenomenon and was aired on live TV.
This was in the days they wheeled in TVs to the classrooms. Like if you were going to watch a movie or something like that, the TV came in on a cart with a tape player, VHS player, or whatever. But this was live, and I definitely remember sitting in the classroom. I think I was in 3rd grade, and just watching this, and hopefully you're already familiar with what happens. If you're not, you're going to find out soon enough. But everybody was just silent. We had no idea how to react. It was absolutely crazy, completely unexpected, of course, and it was a big moment at the time.
Not only that, but millions of classrooms around the country were tuned in to watch the spectacle and celebrate the occurrence.
Reports from the flight dynamics officer indicate that the vehicle apparently exploded.
But as everyone knows, the shuttle tragically exploded during takeoff, killing all 7 people on board and entering the annals of American history.
At 11:40 a.m. this morning, space program experienced a national tragedy with the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger approximately a minute and a half after launch from here at the Kennedy Space Center.
When people come to my house and they see some of these awards for making $10 million online.
Number 8, Super Bowl 20.
The curtain is about to pull, and Super Bowl 20 will play to this enthusiastic audience in New Orleans.
Even in today's day and age, with the rise of streaming and the collapse of traditional television, the Super Bowl still pulls in 100 million viewers. Super Bowl 20 took place at the Louisiana Superdome on the night of January 26, 1986. Both the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots were making their Super Bowl debuts, and the Bears walloped the Patriots 46-10.
Yeah.
A safety made the final score 46-10, leaving the...
Okay, I might have been watching this. I don't remember. I definitely know. I know who won. I know what happened. I know why it was a big deal. And I know some of the controversy around it too. But I'm surprised this made the list. But yeah, let's check it out and see if there's anything bigger that happened in here other than the refrigerator getting a touchdown and Walter Payton not getting a touchdown.
Patriots to contemplate their role in the most lopsided game in Super Bowl history.
Nearly 74,000 people were in attendance, and a further 92.5 million watched at home. This made it the most watched Super Bowl to that point, and its viewership wouldn't be surpassed until Super Bowl 30 10 years later, which drew in 94 million people.
Nice.
Number 7, the day after. Judging by the response to the day after, it's obvious that everyday Americans were deeply entrenched in the politics of the Cold War.
The city of Moscow is being evacuated.
The Day After is a television movie that aired on ABC on the night of November 20th, 1983. Its haunting and apocalyptic story depicts a destructive nuclear war between the United States and the USSR.
I can't be too surprised about this. I mean, well, at least the nature of the story. Yeah, like I said, growing up in the 80s, it was still the Cold War, and we had all kinds of great movies and video games and, and things like that sort of depicted what might happen if, if tensions boiled over. And I've just never heard of this movie before, though. I can't believe that. Let's see what else it's about. But I mean, the story absolutely, that checks. But how have I never heard of this?
The movie was an event, complete with open 1-800 counseling hotlines to help viewers talk through the disturbing nature of the film. It was extensively covered in the media and captured 100 million viewers from around the country.
Everyone half alive or dying will find their way here.
Too late to become a dentist?
It even had a rating of 46, meaning that nearly half of all households in the United States had tuned in to watch the movie.
Crazy.
They gave me this ribbon to wear. But I haven't got any damn hair to put it into.
Number 6, the end of the Iran hostage crisis. Okay. What a way to begin the 1980s. Back in November of 1979, dozens of American diplomats and citizens became hostages within the Tehran embassy, which was stormed by college students with strong ties to the Iranian Revolution.
There were times I was sure that none of us were going to come out of that thing alive, given the volatility of what was going on and their propensity for violence.
The revolution largely stemmed from social injustices and dissatisfaction with the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. After 444 days, or 1 year and 2 months, the hostages were released on January 20th, 1981. Their release and the accord that it caused became international news, and various conspiracy theories arose over the reasoning for their freedom.
Their arrival here is going to be the cause for celebration.
Even before the hostages arrived, the American negotiating team in Algiers held its own party, popping the corks in a couple of bottles of champagne to mark the end of a long, difficult, and often frustrating effort to get the Americans released.
The aftermath.
This one I definitely don't remember. I was way too young. But at least this one I know about. And I'm not surprised it's on the list. So, yeah, let's see what happened. Do you guys remember this? How did you feel about it?
Path was extensive, including the complete disintegration of diplomatic relations between America and Iran.
I could have wiped Iran off the map with the weapons that we had.
Number 5, the MASH finale.
A few minutes ago, I got orders to go home!
Just seeing this makes me think of another one that I think we'll see. It's probably the Cheers finale, which might have been in the 90s, though, so maybe it's not on the list. I don't know. But yeah, this one, for sure. No, I wasn't watching it. Again, bit young, but I've seen plenty of reruns. I used to see reruns of this show when I was a kid, and I think it's well documented that it's one of the most watched things ever.
Airing on the night of February 28, 1983 was Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, the 2.5-hour special that served as the MASH series finale. This was much more than the ending of a beloved TV show. It was a cultural moment and a defining part of American history.
Well, boys, it would be hard to call what we've been through fun, but I'm sure glad we went through it together.
Hype was enormous, allowing CBS to charge exorbitant prices for commercial airtime. And they were right to do so. The broadcast was watched by an estimated 106 million people, making it the most watched episode of television in American history.
I'll never be able to shake you. Whenever I see a big pair of feet or a cheesy mustache, I'll think of you.
It also had a rating.
I can't even imagine that today. I can't think of anything that is popular enough with so many people that they feel like they have to tune in. And besides, with streaming, most people aren't well, I don't want to say most people. A lot of people are not watching TV live. So they're just going to watch it when it's released or when they get a chance to. Thinking of something that people would tune in live for outside of a sports event. I don't even know what could do that. So it kind of blows my mind, but it's just, it's kind of the nature of the way things were back then. But it's amazing that a show like this was so popular that that many people felt like they needed to tune in and watch it that night.
Rating of 60.2, meaning 60% of American homes were tuned in to CBS to watch the episode live. Now that's how you send off a beloved show. Number 4, The Wedding of Charles and Diana.
There she goes, up the steps.
On July 29, 1981, Diana Spencer married heir apparent Charles, Prince of Wales at London's St. Paul's Cathedral, and the event could not have been more bombastic. It was made a national holiday in the UK, cost an estimated $100 million in today's money, and saw 2 million spectators filling the streets of London. But that is nothing compared to the 750 million that watched from home.
And now the moment of drama that Prince Charles talked about. The moment of theatricality as we await the arrival of the bride and the groom.
The event was broadcast live in 50 different countries, and legend has it that hundreds of millions more listened on the radio, bringing the worldwide audience to well over 1 billion, if that's true.
To this day, I have no idea what the fascination was that people had with these two. I know, like, future king, well, now current king, but, you know, at the time, future king of England, getting married. Why were people so caught up in it? I could see the people of the United Kingdom being into it. Some people, you know, that like watching royals, but they were so much bigger than that. And, you know, obviously a lot of people tuned in. It was being broadcast everywhere, but I don't understand why.
Then 1 in every 4 people on the planet either watched or listened to the wedding of Charles and Diana.
The whole family clustering on the steps of St. Paul's to wave the couple off on their way back to Buckingham Palace.
Number 3, Live Aid. Forget 1 in 4 people. How about half the entire world? Well, okay, about 40%, but still. Meant to bolster awareness and charity for an Ethiopian famine. Live Aid encompassed concerts in Philadelphia and London, along with a few smaller ones around the globe. Performing at the 1985 event were almost all of the big acts of the time, with Britain putting forth Queen, David Bowie, and Elton John, and the USA, Neil Young, The Cars, and Hall & Oates, among many others, of course. Aside from the 160,000 people in attendance, nearly 2 billion people bopped along to the music on television, accounting for 40% of the entire world's population. Number 2, Holmes versus Ali. Modern generations will never understand the sheer popularity of Muhammad Ali. The Holmes versus Ali fight had all the hallmarks of a dramatic movie story. Not only was Ali coming out of retirement for the fight, but he was battling his longtime sparring partner Larry Holmes. And not only that, but Ali was well past his prime.
We'll see here if he's still got it.
He was pushing 40, wasn't agile, was the lightest he had been in years, and was suffering from various debilitating health issues.
Is Ali hurt? Could he be going down? How much more of this can he take?
It's essentially the story of Rocky Balboa. On the night of October 2nd, 1980, a bumbling Ali got his butt kicked, and 2 billion people from around the world watched the sad spectacle.
That's it. They've stopped the fight at TKO.
That is a shame. You know, when athletes, they keep pushing. I know they don't want to give up, and they always want to be the best. Especially something like boxing. Once you're past it, you really can't keep up. And Ali was so great. I've seen so many documentaries and so many videos of his fights. I used to really like watching that stuff when I was younger. No idea what's going on in boxing now. But I did used to watch these things about Muhammad Ali, and he was just so amazing. And just, you know, for him to go out and not be himself and, you know, have to take the beating and, you know, just kind of not really tarnish the reputation, because I think we all know he's still the greatest, but it's, you know, it's just hard to watch somebody fall from their prime and keep trying to push on. So I'm glad he didn't do that for too long. And yeah, it's just it's a shame that something like this comes up with, you know, if you're going to think about his career.
It'll be scored as a technical knockout.
Number 1, the 1980 Moscow Olympics. The 80s were a fantastic time for the Olympics. Moscow 80, Los Angeles 84, and Seoul 88 all drew about 2 billion views.
I remember the 84 Olympics. Again, way too young to remember the 1980 Olympics. But, you know, again, I've seen some videos and things like that. So I think it's great that people tuned in, though. I love the Olympics. I love watching those. I tune in whenever they're happening. And yeah, just watching all these amazing athletes from around the world. I mean, you know, and we'll see what was, you know, why this was such a big deal. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you watch the Olympics? Do you care about the Olympics? Do you ever watch any of those sports when it's not during Olympic time? I do. I'll watch track and field if I find it. Occasionally snowboarding, but not too often. But I do try to watch track and field events if I find out when they're happening. Yeah, let me know if you feel the same way.
Viewers. But the Moscow Games are historic for many reasons. They set numerous records, including the first Olympics in Eastern Europe and the first Summer Games to be held in a communist country. As a result, dozens upon dozens of countries boycotted the Games and refused to attend. 66 to be precise. Only 80 attended, making this the smallest Olympics in nearly 25 years. All of this combined to generate great worldwide interest. And even with the boycotts, the Games still garnered 2 billion viewers through television broadcasts, making it the most watched Olympics in history at the time.
I thought that was a lot of fun. A little bit surprised, I think, at some of the things that are on there. But again, I mean, I was a young kid in the 80s, and I definitely remember some of the stuff. A lot of the stuff, you know, earlier in the decade, you know, I'm just either too young to remember or I was too young to appreciate it, or I might not have been allowed to watch. I don't know. But I did recognize a lot of the things that happened, and it was definitely an interesting decade. There are a lot of, you know, I look back on the 80s fondly. There's a lot of nostalgia there. But these were things that were watched live, and that's totally different. I can think of so many movies and things like that and music that sort of defined that decade for me. And that's not going to be part of what's going to show up, you know, people are watching a live broadcast of. So not too surprising, but there were a couple of things in there that I'd never heard of. And I think that kind of surprised me more. I've seen enough, read enough or seen enough, things breaking down the 80s and, you know, what made them so popular. Like, I have no idea what that TV movie was with the nuclear attack. So that was surprising. Maybe I'll have to check that out. I probably won't. But, yeah, let me know. Tell me, were you surprised by what was on the list? Were you alive in the 80s? Does looking back on stuff like this just seem really weird and old? I don't know. I enjoyed it. A lot of the stuff was not super happy stuff that happened, at least what was in this video. But it doesn't change my impression of the 80s when I think back on it. It was a fun time. It was a fun time for me because I was a kid. And maybe that distorts my view a little bit. I know there were a lot of things going on, say politically or whatever, that people are, don't look back so fondly on. But yeah, I enjoyed watching the video. It's always nice to take a trip down memory lane. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.